How's everyone doing? Woo! Wow, this has been such an incredible experience so far, and I feel incredibly honored and humbled to be here today to share with you a little bit about my story and tips from my life that you can use to really take your life to the next level and live your life beyond fear. How does that sound? I think it's really great. Charlotte did such a great job of lining us up because building on what Lindsay has taught us and what Lena taught us, I'm moving right in here with a few more tips and tricks that's really going to build on the things that these wonderful ladies have been sharing with you so far today. So I wanted to start by asking you a question. Have you ever actually taken the time to stop and think about what your life would look like if you didn't have fear standing in your way? Have you ever? We're going to do that right now. Get your feet both planted on the floor. Bring your hands to your lap. And allow your eyes to float closed. Take a big, deep breath into your heart space. Exhale, release. Inhale again into the heart space. This time, draw it all the way down into your belly. Exhale, release. Take one last big, deep breath into the heart space. And release. Imagine your life without fear. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? How does it feel? What is different in this scenario in comparison to where you are right now? Take it in. Take another big, deep breath into your heart space. And release and allow your eyes just to float open. Coming back into the room, back into the here and now. And here we are. I want you to take out your notebooks, your phones, whatever it is that you are writing in previously. And I want you to take some notes. What came up for you? What came up for you when you were really allowing yourself to drop in, tune in? Maybe what came up was something big. Maybe it was finally leaving that soul-crushing job. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? I know all too well myself. Maybe it was starting a business of your own. Maybe it was something a little bit smaller. Maybe you saw an old friend that you lost touch with, that you haven't spoken to in 5 or 6 years. Whatever it was that came up, take note. And now it's time to get really, really honest with yourself. What is it that's actually holding you back from having that? What is it? Is it fear? So what are some of the thoughts that pop into your head when you actually take the time now that you're back in the room, your eyes are open, and you have time to think, right? What are some of those things that are coming up that are holding you back? What are you telling yourself? We talked about it with Lena. We talked about it with Lindsay. I'm not good enough. That'll never work for me. I'm not pretty enough. What if I fail? Right? Those thoughts are there for us. We're humans. Our brains are actually wired to keep us safe. They are wired to prevent us from doing things that may end up hurting us. Right? Because back in the day, when we were cavemen running around, we needed to be afraid of that lion that was chasing us. Right? Fear serves a purpose. And in fact, if we were fearless, then that may actually not be a good thing. Maybe we could use fear to help drive us, to show us what it is that we actually need to do. What about that? What if I could show you how to do that? Would you be interested? Yeah. So those thoughts that came in when we had our eyes closed, when we were dropped in, tuned in, we did it earlier with Lindsay, so you guys are getting lots of practice. That's great. Those thoughts that pop up, that's your gut instinct. That's your intuition. You all have it. Every single one of you, you have it. And it's guiding you. But what happens all too often is that we let our head get in the way, right? We tell ourselves why we can't do it, why we can't start, right? So I'm going to tell you about a time, my story, about how I let fear sit in the driver's seat and take the wheel and steer my life, and how that turned out for me. So I've got to take you back to some of my earliest memories. When I was 4 years old, my mom was a single mom. How many single moms in the room? Hell yeah. You guys are amazing. I love you all. I have so much respect. My mom did the very best with what she had, and she was courageous and brave, and she demonstrated to me what was truly possible when you set your mind to something. So my earliest memories were of me and my mom sharing a one-bedroom apartment in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. We shared a bed, and we were happy. We had everything we needed. We had each other. Then, just before I started school, we moved to Cole Harbour, and we moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own bedroom. So excited. But then I went to school. I was 5, 6, 7, living in that 2-bedroom apartment, and all my friends had houses, and I didn't. And I started getting jealous. I wanted to have a house of my own, and that's all I wanted. It's all I could focus on. So when my mom came home from work one day and she said, "Cindy, I found us a house to live in. Let's go." I was like, "Oh my God, I can't get packed fast enough. We're gonna go. We're gonna go to this house. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so good." So we packed up, we went, and then when we went into the house, we walked around the back, and we had this little door that went into the basement. I'm like, okay, sure, still a house. I'm good, right? Walked into this basement apartment. The apartment had 2 windows and 1 bedroom. Where was I gonna sleep? And they walked me through the apartment, and they said, "Oh, we've got this perfect place for you. Got this perfect place for you to sleep." And they opened the door, and I looked in, and it was a storage closet. It was big enough for my twin bed to fit into it, a little table by my bed, but regardless, I could reach out my arms and touch either side. But that was okay. My mom did the very best with what she had. She was courageous, she was brave, she was independent. I would later find out, and my mom kept me sheltered, she did a very good job. I would later find out that my dad, who was often just that voice on the other side of the telephone, was actually a drug addict. He lived on the street, he was homeless. That was something that would ultimately drive me later in life, after high school. But while I was in that storage closet, I didn't know any different. I started to get jealous of all the things that my friends had, and I wanted something more. I wanted a bigger house. I can clearly remember the day I made the commitment to myself. I was 8 years old. I was sitting on the floor in that living room in that basement apartment, and I made the commitment to myself that no matter what happened, I was going to push myself to succeed. I would succeed no matter what it took so that I didn't have to live that kind of a life when I became an adult. So that became pretty evident when I was in high school. I pushed myself to succeed. My average was always above 95, and anything less, I was terrified, mortified. But I did it. And I got to that point when I was applying for university, and I could get in anywhere I wanted to go. But I chose engineering because I thought that engineering was going to be my meal ticket. I was good at math. Whatever. I'll pick it. I'll do it. And I did. And it wasn't easy. I moved out when I was 17 years old. I worked 3 part-time jobs. And on the side, what I hid from all my friends was that I was babysitting my drug-addicted father. I would get calls in the middle of the night saying, "He's overdosed again. Can you come down here?" And the things I saw were horrific. And I would get up in the morning, 8 o'clock, and I'd be in that Duggan building, 8:30 in the morning, Monday to Friday. Work until 1, 2 in the morning, and go back at it again. But I did it. 10 years ago, I walked across the stage here at Dalhousie. I finished that 5-year degree in 4.5 years. I did it. I got a really great job right out of the gate. 6 months into that career, I was promoted into a 10-year role. They put me on a rig offshore at Sable Island. I was one of the only women on that rig. I was 22, 23 years old. Yeah. And I loved it. I killed it. The lesson here is that if you have the drive, the passion, the commitment to do it, to do anything you set your mind to, you can and you will. It doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is, what opportunities you had in life. It's your responsibility to create the opportunities that you deserve. So then fast forward, I moved to Alberta 3 years after my career started, got a new job, and then another new job. And I quickly found out that what was driving me to succeed in this career was fear. The fear of ending up back where I came from. I couldn't let that happen because I deserved better, my mom deserved better, we all deserved better. But 7.5 years in, I finally got a wake-up call. I knew that this was no longer what I was meant to do. I knew that I had to do something more. I didn't feel aligned with where I was going in this career. And I knew I wanted to start my own business. But what got in the way? Fear. You'd be crazy to give this up. And I'd hear people tell me, everyone hates their job, you just got to get over it. And I believed it. You'd never replace that income. All the fears, everything came into my mind. So, my wake-up call came, age 29. At that point, for almost 2 years, I woke up every morning and I would sit on the end of my bed and sob before going to work. I would literally be over the toilet, dry heaving, before I'd go to work. I worked for a man that didn't respect me, didn't appreciate me, and didn't value me. And what happened was I stopped appreciating myself. I stopped valuing myself, and I stopped appreciating myself. I saw myself as he did. So at age 29, when I was sitting in my doctor's office and she forced me to go on stress leave from work, I knew that no longer was I going to allow myself to be comfortable with this misery. I wasn't the daughter I wanted to be, the wife I wanted to be, the friend I wanted to be. I had lost touch with who I was. I drove myself into this career because I was scared. And I was stopping myself from leaving because I was scared. But in that doctor's office, I made a commitment to myself that I would never allow myself to live in that state of fear again. And I'm going to show you how you can do that too. Because when we get these instincts, these intuition hits come up, when we really tune in to what our life would look like if it were fearless, if we could move beyond the fear, then we would be happy and joyful. And it is our job and our right to be living in a state of joy and happiness on a daily basis. And when we live our life in that way, we give permission to everyone else to do the same. So how do we do it? I challenge you to write down right now, pull out your piece of paper, write down all of those fears that come up for you. Get really clear on what they are. And what we're going to do is we're going to flip the script. So, what if I fail? What if I succeed beyond my wildest dreams? I'm not good enough. I am so perfect for this. This is what's meant to be for me. So do that with every single one of them that you write down. Flip that script. And use that as your mantra. So when you witness those fears come in, you witness it and you say, today, I'm not going to allow you to take the wheel. In fact, I'm going to take you and I'm going to place you in the back seat. And I'm going to take the wheel. And so what you're going to do is you're going to start taking actions as they come to you, before your head starts to get in the way. Right? And I want my story to impact you in a way that shows you that you have the ability to move beyond this fear. No matter where you're at or what you've been through, you can do it too. And I stand here before you, just shy of 2 years out of my engineering career. On June 13th, 2016, I became a full-time entrepreneur. I started following all my passions. I would dig into things that would light me up or get curious about things that might make me happy or just try out whatever I could. And I am not just a life business coach, yoga teacher. I also decided that I was going to make sure that I would never end up back in that basement apartment. So I didn't just stop at one house. I bought my first home when I was 22 years old, all by myself. And a few days before my 31st birthday, I got the keys to my 5th house. I turned my little obsession with HGTV into a reality. And now, I have 6 rental units, and I've put 2 basement suites into these beautiful homes that are really beautiful and bright and cheery and really great and not dingy, and they're good. So today, I want you to take away that this is the impact that you can have too. And that's it.